Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast with your host, Lorna Poole, sharing the secrets to creating wealth, investing, and that all-important money mindset. To find out more and accelerate your journey to financial freedom, head on over to www.lornapoole.com to get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Are you looking to get out of debt? Is the debt holding you back from creating financial freedom? My guest expert today is Mathew Paul, and he is going to share with you how to modify your behavior so that debt is not taking over. He is a financial coach who's changed people's lives with his proven, innovative, and compassionate approach. He is the managing partner of Mayanah Financial Coaching and has provided hope to many families, helping them break the bondage of debt and provide ways to retire with dignity and leave a legacy for generations. He is a frequent speaker at churches and events and conducts financial seminars on a regular basis. Mathew, great to have you here.
Hey, great to have you here, and thank you, Lorna, for inviting me for the show.
You're welcome, Mathew. Mathew, tell me this, right? Debt really can cripple people, and a lot of us find ourselves in there. And that is compounding, working against us instead of for us. So what do you mean, or why should I care about behavioural modification?
Okay, so debt, if you know what the definition of debt is, that you owe a lot of money to somebody else. Actually, we are talking in terms of financial terms. It is owing a lot of money either to individuals or to government or to financial institutions. And when you have debt in life, it is like a big burden on your life. And you lose your freedom because every paycheck you get, every money you make out of your business, out of your job, a good portion of it goes into this debt, and that is constraining people from growing and doing things what they love in life. And so it is at most important that we get out of debt as soon as possible, because all these people who are providing you money, they are not doing it for free. You're giving interest and interest over interest. And so it's time that you stop it and try to get interest for you rather than giving it to somebody else.
Yes, I completely agree, because this is what people need to hear over and over again, that it's that interest that really cripples you, because it just compounds and compounds, and it can become a never-ending defeat, right?
Absolutely. And on the top of that, in the US, we see a lot of people, one day their paycheck is delayed by any reason. They will have to pay the late fees. They will have to pay the overdraft fees. So these banks make a whole lot of money on you and me trying to charge all these late fees and every other fees that they can get.
And it can become quite a vicious circle.
Absolutely. And this is like a bondage. And so it's time we have to say no to debt and break free from this bondage.
So, our listeners listening to this and they're struggling with debt, okay? And they're hearing you, Mathew, for the first time. How the hell, they're thinking in their heads, how the hell am I going to do this? What do I do? What do I do? Help me. How?
Okay. So let's go back and see, how did we generate debt? Okay. We generated debt not because we were bad in math. It's not that we were all ignorant about adding and subtracting that we got into debt. Most of the time, we get into debt because of behavior. Now, granted, there are certain situations where, you had to go to a hospital, you didn't have money, so you had to borrow. We understand all those situations, but think about the situation. Most of the time, it is the ability to delay gratification, instant gratification, is that what led into debt. Now, that is the context that I'm talking about. For example, I have a 10-year-old car. The car will take me from point A to point B. But, I saw my neighbor driving a better car. I saw a good ad on the car. And so I am like, hey, I need to go and buy that car. I don't have money. Guess what I did? I did go and do the financing for 5 years, 7 years, and now I am a debtor to that financial company. And so the very first thing a family, an individual has to do is to be honest to yourself. If you are not honest to yourself, this is not going to work. But if you're honest to yourself, you have to take a piece of paper, an Excel sheet, an app. There are a lot of free ones in the market today. And try to track every dollar that is coming in and every dollar that is going out. And that's exactly what we do with our clients. So once we track every dollar that is coming in and every dollar that's going out, you know the true picture of what areas you are going over. And most of the time, they are not the needs, but are the wants. And once you identify the wants, then it's time that we delay our gratification and try to be like adults and not like children, because children will do what they want to do. Adults devise a plan and follow it.
So track our money so we know where it's going, right?
Correct.
We know what's coming in, we know what's going out. And explain wants and needs.
Okay, so one of the needs that you have in life is you have to pay all your utility bills. If you're living in a house, you have to have your water bill, your electricity, your natural gas, all those things needs to be paid. They are the needs. However, going and buying more clothes and eating out 5 days a week, they are all wants. So that is where there will be a distinction between the need and the want. So when we ask people to sit with their spouse, and that we also force, if you're married or if you have a partner, we force the clients to sit with their partners, clients, wife, spouse, whoever that is, and try to have an accountability with each other and trying to plan ahead before we go and spend the money. So once we budget the money, say that, hey, I'm going to spend $100 eating out this month, or 200, 300, whatever that number is, that is all you get. We ask them to take it out in cash and keep it with you in an envelope. And once that money is gone, it's gone. And that's how we change the behavior.
So changing the behavior is being honest with myself, looking at what's going in and out, and now I'm budgeting it. Yeah?
Correct. So first you have to track what is coming in and what is going out. Second, you need to sit with your spouse, or partner, or whoever that is, and try to identify the needs and the wants. And then we will try to budget it based on the money that you are getting. And once you create a budget, we will try to ask them to take it and put it in an envelope if it is something that you can carry, like for things that you are tending to overspend. Now, am I asking you to take your entire paycheck? Absolutely not. That's not what it is. We identify the areas where you are going over and try to restrict it with the cash that is available. And so once the cash is over, then you cannot spend anything more.
But Mathew, when people, debt to people can be like an alcoholic giving up alcohol. So usually when they're going through withdrawal, emotions show up, they can regress back. So how do you, if somebody's big on debt, it can be a lot of emotional, psychological. How do you, with these practical skills, how do you get a person not to go back to their old ways because they find this too hard, or they start getting depressed, or, they go get in an accident? It's funny how when people change, things occur in their life and they're like, oh no, I can't do that right now. I can't do that this week. I'll leave it till next week. So how do you help them change that behavior?
I will give you an example outside the financial world. Now, I don't know whether I have told you this. I'm big into ice creams. I love ice creams. And the problem with the ice cream is that the more you eat, the more you show it on your body. So when I went to my doctor, I said, hey, you're gaining weight. I said, yeah, I know, I'm addicted to ice cream. And the first thing he asked me is that, do not buy ice cream and keep it in your house because your temptation goes up. If you want to get an ice cream, you go out and eat rather than putting a big tub of ice cream in your house. The same thing. Once you have your credit card and your debit card with you, it's so easy to swipe. It's very easy to go and buy things over the internet. But when you are having cash, you are you're putting a restriction on yourself. And once that happens, now, will it going to change overnight? Absolutely not. But over time, you can see, and human mind is trained to take small wins. you don't have to get a big win. If you can get small wins, the human mind will say, you know what, hey, Mr. So-and-so, you can do it, or Mrs. So-and-so, you can do it. And that will take into a positive spin.
I've heard a couple of coaches talk about, do cash. But a little thing that goes off in my head about cash is, why are coaches teaching their clients to use cash when we live in a world where cash is going to be obsolete in a couple of years?
Well, when it is obsolete, we will think about it at that point of time. Right now, the cash is available, right? And this is where we have a problem. Now, is cash is credit or a debit a bad thing? Absolutely not. Just like coming back, is iPhone a bad thing? No. Is Samsung phones a bad thing? Absolutely not. But if you do not have control over what you are using, and if you cannot master it, then everything becomes an addict. And that's what we are trying to break it. And once that habit is broken, once you are on the right track, then they can stop use cash and go back to whatever that they are using. But if the status of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, and that's what we are trying to break. We are trying to break the behavior. We are trying to go back to a cash system. And once they have mastered it, and once they have complete control over finances, then they can go back and use whatever they want to use or they were using in the past.
And what about, so when they're working with this plan, they've been honest with themselves, they're budgeting, they're using cash. What about the debt they already have? How are we lowering that?
Okay, so we recommend two things. One, we ask them to pay the smallest amount first, and not the highest interest rate. The smallest amount first is because, again, the same concept I said in the beginning, we got into debt not because of mathematical problems, because of emotion. And when we pay off the first debt, we get this adrenaline rush in us. We say, hey, Mathew or Lorna, you can win on this. And once you have the confidence, you will go and pay the next one. Now, when in that process, we have to be careful that if you have very high balance with very high interest rate, we need to work with the creditor either through balance transfers or through working with the creditors to reduce the interest rates. And there are so many ways to do that in the market. But on a paying off debt schedule, it always has to be the smallest amount first.
Okay. I've heard a couple of coaches do that. I think it depends on, you're talking about debt, and I agree with people that are really stuck in debt. Yes, probably the smallest amount first. But I'd have to, and I understand the reason behind it, because once they get their emotions behind it, and they get the confidence, and they see the results, and they see the evidence, it'll help them snowball and do it with the rest of them. But I can't help but think, if my credit card is 24%, that's costing me a lot more money over time than a debt that's to my friend, but it's no interest.
Okay. So, well, if a credit card, I can answer that question, but on a step backwards, what we always ask to pay off the personal debt first, because that is a rupture in relationship one way or the other, and relationship should take precedence over money. But on the credit card story, so while you were charging all these credit cards and spending more than what you were supposed to spend, were you thinking about the credit interest rates at that point? You were not. And so if you were thinking about the interest rate at that point of time and were using mathematical calculations, you wouldn't be in this mess at the first time, right? And so that is why the emotion has to take precedence over mathematical formulas. Now, at the same time...
Okay, so what you're saying is, in all of your plan, the emotion takes precedence over the numbers, right?
Not all the time, most of the time. As I said in the beginning, there may be a few cases where, you had to do it because of medical conditions. You had to do it because something else happened. I mean, those are exceptions. At the same time, Lorna, let me complete.
But is debt and behavioural modification really about handling your emotions with money?
Emotions play a big role in the money, because you just said in your own words that when you are tired, when you are when you are lonely, you tend to spend more, and that's very, very true. And so emotions tell you a lot of things about money. And how much time we went to a store just for window shopping, but end up buying 3 things because we just saw it and we liked it. And so, coming back to the interest rates on the credit card, I want to emphasize a point. We also will recommend people that if you have very high interest rates on the credit cards, go and do the balance transfers and make it a 0% and stuff like that, and work with the creditor. So we also ask them to do that on the other end, but the primary focus has to be emotional.
So someone gets out of debt, right? They've got out of debt, right? There's a certain, what do I do now? There's a certain void. I've cleared my debt. Where do I put my money next? Like, how do I, I teach and talk about an interview on financial freedom, right? So, to me, to somebody who's asking me, you getting that money working for you. So if someone gets out of debt with you, Mathew, where do you tell them their money needs to be going next?
So we follow Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps. So the first step is to have an emergency fund, because emergency happens in life and you cannot prevent it. Second is to pay off all the debt and accept your house, because that is a appreciating asset. That's how at least we believe, and interest rates are usually very low. So accept your house, pay off your debt. Third one is to have a 3 to 6 months of emergency, because in the corporate world today, in the job scenario, it's very easy to lose jobs. You may have a disability, whatever that is. After that, we ask people to go and invest their money in the stock market, in the real estate, wherever they are comfortable with, or if possible at everywhere, because we want to diversify the risk. And once you invest the money, then come back and pay off the house, and then move forward from that point. So we are very big into investing the money once you pay off the debt.
I love it, Mathew. So would you say to somebody, should I clear debt and be putting away money towards my financial freedom, or should I be clearing debt and then worry about putting away my money for financial freedom?
So if you have a 24% credit card interest, I don't know an investment that can give you consistently 24% year over year for the rest of the life. And so paying off debt, especially high interest consumer debt, is a way of investing, because that is the best return of investment you can get with the money that you have. So I always recommend pay off the debt, get that burden out of your way, be free, and not debted to anybody, and then you start making money and then invest it and multiply it.
And do you ever get a client that clearing off debt was such a big thing that they almost get comfortable there, that they don't move to the next step of making their money work for them, that they're kind of comfortable, oh no, I'll just clear this debt, and then 10 years could go by, 5 years. Now, I'm sure, Mathew, with your plan, they're clearing these debt in a lot shorter time than that.
Well, see, the debt is good. I mean, again, just look at our own life. I mean, we started this whole initiative based on our own experience. My wife and I, we were in debt for some time because we got into a house that we couldn't afford, and then we bought 2 brand new cars. And everything is good. I mean, debt was good at that point of time until a disaster struck us. And so if you don't feel the need of getting out of debt on a day-to-day basis until something bad happens. And that moment, we are trying to avoid those moments.
Yes, I love that. I love that you share that, Mathew. It's true. People don't think about these things till they're in the shit. And, I love the way you've shared, have that emergency fund there, have that 3 to 6 months in case you lose your job. A lot of us don't think about that till we're in the situation. So, even anyone listening to this, starting today on looking at what you're doing and where you're putting your money is huge.
Correct. And so if you can follow this process, at least, we know that if the job loss or something else happens, you are not debted to anybody, you will have your money, and then you may not be able to invest at that point if you don't have a job, but at least nobody is knocking at your door and trying to take your house away from you.
very scary. Mathew, thank you for being here. This has been amazing. I really enjoy this. But tell me this, what is that one thing you want to leave the listeners with about, they're listening to this, they know they've debt that's just getting out of control. What's that kind of, this is the thing you must do now?
The first thing I ask you to do is to spend some time with your partner or your spouse and try to know where the money is coming from and where the money is going, track it and try to budget it. I am pretty confident if you're doing it for the first time, you will be amazed where it is going, and then you will be able to try to control the spending out that is going outside your control.
Mathew, I love that. How do we find out more about you?
You know what? We are all over the internet. We have our own social media status. We highly recommend that you go and visit our webpage. It is themayanah.com. So mayanah.com. Go to www.mayanah.com. And if you need help, just send us a message and we'll be happy to help you guys.
Thank you, Mathew. This has been amazing. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lorna, for bringing me here. And it was such an awesome opportunity to talk to you.
Hey, everyone. Remember to join us in the Private Financial Freedom Podcast Facebook group with me, your host, Lorna Poole. This is a safe haven of like-minded wealth-getting go-getters who, like you, are on their journey to creating financial freedom in their life. This is where you and I can get intimate. I can give you the support and guidance to go from where you are now to where you want to be, developing your wealth mindset and creating your financial freedom life. Join at www.facebook.com/groups The Financial Freedom Podcast. You will see the links to this on the website. It's in the show notes, or type it into the Facebook group. All you have to type in is Financial Freedom Podcast and you will see us there. Look forward to seeing you in the group. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast to creating wealth, investing, and developing your money mindset. To get started today on your journey, head on over to www.lornapoole.com and grab your free course, 5 Steps to Breaking Free from Your Poverty Mindset and Accelerating Your Journey to Financial Freedom. See you there.